Hello, and thank you for joining us. A federal judge is giving President Trump the go-ahead to continue mass firings of thousands of federal employees for now. An Obama-appointed district judge denied a request by a group of labor unions to pause the administration's efforts to downsize the federal workforce. The unions wanted the court to temporarily stop the firings while they challenged the legality of the move. In a 16-page decision, the judge acknowledged the president's executive actions may cause chaos, but said the court likely did not have jurisdiction over the case. He directed the unions to reach out to the federal agency that oversees labor relations. The Internal Revenue Service is the latest federal agency to lose staff. The administration is expected to lay off more than 6,000 IRS employees by the end of this week, or about 7% of the agency. An email sent to IRS managers and obtained by CBS News says the employees terminated were not deemed as critical to the filing season. Still, one of those employees who worked for the agency for about 6 months spoke with CBS News about the impact of these cuts.
We were already short-staffed. We were already incredibly underfunded. I mean, the agency as a whole, even before I was there, for the last several years, the agency has not had the funding that it needed. So now there's no one to handle all of the cases that all of us had, and 6,500 people nationwide. These cases aren't going to be able to be addressed.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now. Aaron, which IRS employees are being targeted in these layoffs?
Lindsay, good to be with you. The latest number we've heard from a source familiar with the agency's move is that over 6,700 IRS workers were terminated this week. And these were primarily probationary workers that had just been hired within the past year or started new roles within the past year and are still in that, quote, probationary status. And I saw the text of a termination letter one employee got, and it notes that probationary status, but also says that performance of this employee played a role in their termination. Just to show, again, as you mentioned, in an email sent to not just IRS managers, but to workers themselves, the IRS explicitly says that, per the White House's directive, employees who were, quote, not deemed as critical to filing season are not part of these initial cuts.
Now let's move to the Pentagon, which says it will take initial steps next week to reduce its civilian workforce by 8 to 5%. What will that look like?
Yeah, it looks like about 5,400 workers that are expected to be cut in the beginning of next week. The Defense Department will then implement a hiring freeze and conduct a review of its personnel needs. In a notice, they say that Secretary Hegseth said, quote, "It is simply not in the public interest to retain individuals whose contributions are not mission critical." We were hearing and seeing in reports that it was potentially about to be 50,000 civilian employees that could be cut across the Pentagon without a review. That, however, could violate Title 10 of the U.S. Code, which states a defense secretary cannot reduce the civilian workforce unless, quote, an appropriate analysis is conducted.
CBS News has also learned President Trump is considering bringing the U.S. Postal Service under his purview. What do we know about that?
Yeah, President Trump, while at the swearing-in ceremony of Howard Lutnick for Commerce Secretary, said there will be some form of a merger between the Postal Service and the Commerce Department. President Trump cited money lost with the USPS. He seems to still be working exactly through what that merger looks like. Sources have told CBS News it could be done through an executive order. The significance of that, the Postal Service is an independent agency since its creation in 1775. Trump's potential move here is just the latest he has done to kind of rein in independent agencies within the executive branch.
All right, Aaron Navarro, thank you. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now. Caitlin, how have lawmakers been reacting to mass firings and other actions taken by DOGE, and how their constituents been reacting?
Yeah, Lindsay, you have a really interesting dynamic up here where you have this traditional clash of Republicans wanting to cut the size of the government, but also concerned about cuts to their districts and states specifically. And over the past week, we've been talking to Republicans who have raised concerns that some of these cuts are either going too far or hitting core industries in their state. And it really runs the gamut. I mean, we heard from Lisa Murkowski earlier this week talking about potential potential cuts to national parks and the impact that could have with national parks opening. Also, she hinted at, slowing the permitting process for some of Trump's energy policies by cuts to the Bureau of Land Management. I've also heard from senators like Katie Britt from Alabama concerned about some of the cuts to NIH, especially with the University of Alabama being a big recipient of that. Now, not all of them are criticizing the president or criticizing Elon Musk here, and they're giving him a lot of deference to work through these cuts, but they're also starting to raise their hands and say, look, some of these cuts you may need to think more closely about. And we've seen this throughout Congress over the years, where they want to cut spending, but they don't necessarily want to do it for programs and industries of their own local interest.
And Senate Republicans passed a partisan budget framework early Friday morning, staying up all night to do it despite Democratic opposition and even when no vote from within their own party. What's in the budget? Why did they pass it this way? What happens next?
Yeah, Lindsay, this is kind of a long, convoluted process, but basically the Senate wanted to move forward on a budget to get a lot of the president's priorities in there, especially spending for border security and the military. And so they don't really want to wait. They didn't want to wait for the House to figure itself out. They moved forward with their own budget bill. Now, this could all be for nothing because this all depends on whether the House can pass a budget as well. The two have to agree eventually on something in order to pass both chambers. But the margin for error in the House is so much more narrow. And we saw that with previous fights on the budget, even a continuing resolution late last year. Anything can blow this up. The Senate also knows that the president wants a big bill, one bill to get all of his priorities through, but they want to pass two bills because they believe that they want to give the president a couple of options, kind of a fallback plan, just in case the House falls through. So we will stay tuned. The House is likely to take theirs up next week.
Okay, Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you. Later this hour, we'll take a deeper look at some of the legal challenges facing Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.